Hello and welcome back once again to Gary Grigsby's War in the East. Now you'll be thinking, what the heck is going on? This guy is all the way back to turn 1 and nothing has happened so far. Yeah, that's definitely true. As many of you know, the first Let's Play that I did was mostly a test Let's Play for me to both see how the game plays out. That's one. And yeah, just to get a feel and for all the different mechanics, etc, etc. Since I started that campaign, I learned a lot. There are a lot of things that I know now, and there are a lot of things that I already implemented in that game, but also a lot of things that I just did wrong, and I was just kind of never able to recover from that. One of those things was my well, let's just say that I was not knowledgeable, for example, on the support units, where I thought that all units could help with the rail production, but that is simply not true. Now, that was the case in the first game, but that is actually not true in this game, for example. So there are quite a few things that I did wrong. Didn't take into account the winter. Now, you will not actually see me play through the winter, though by the time that I'm recording this, I might actually show off a little bit of how things are. But there are a couple of problems with that previous LP that I think are, in a way, unovercomable in the long haul. And one of those things are bad winter positions. That's one. I was unprepared, didn't have level 2 fortifications in most of the places where I needed to hold. But most notably, I felt that I did not make enough of an advancement in the center. Most notably around the Kursk-Orel section, where I feel that if you want to set yourself up decently for 1942, you at least need to have a position that's a bit further away. So take Orel, take Kursk. Now, I would have been fine just saying like, okay, well, I didn't take Chuel, didn't take Moscow, didn't take Leningrad. Those would have been ahistorical holdings, and I would have been fine with that. But in the case of not even taking Orel and Kursk, it just basically, it means that you're setting yourself up for a loss in 942. Coupled with the excess number of Soviet forces still under their command, and their ability to teleport just means that overall I think the Red Army would have been too powerful in 1942, and it's just pretty much an inevitable loss at some point, which can be interesting to watch, but I don't feel that it is necessarily a good idea to keep playing at that, since I want to set myself up in a way for success. It doesn't mean that I need to finish this game in 941, and very likely I will not, but I do not only want to level the playing field a little bit and see how things go if we're playing this on normal. So I have set, oh, the step reference screen is the wrong one. So what I've done is I've set the general difficulty level to normal at this point, which means that the AI should teleport less. That still sets, that does set them up for more encirclements and things like that. But that's just something that at this point we, I guess, would have to kind of take for granted. Another thing that I found that was really unfortunate was the air system, the AI air system. It's not too bad, gotta give it that, but there are just certain problems that lead to excess losses and will set you up for a really bad air position later on. And even though I do think that the air war in the East is one of the least important things, it is ultimately also something that one needs to take into account. So what I'm going to do from now on with this, let's say, new LP is I'm going to be playing one episode, one turn per episode, and I'm going to be playing I guess at the moment 2 episodes per week, with the exception of any potential bonus episodes that I will be doing through Patreon, which will also entail 1 additional turn a week. So then I'll be kind of playing 2 turns a week, and then hopefully at some point we'll be okay again. I mean, 1 turn does take pretty long in most cases, especially at the start. And also with me still learning some of the things. It's not set in stone yet, everything, but I want to start with my true LP as early as possible. Because otherwise I'm just going to waste more time with my other LP, which ultimately will lead to nothing. So I might just as well start with this fresh as fast as possible so we can, continue. Now, there are quite a few things that I've already set up. So what I found is that when I was playing the game on challenging the first time, the AI was actually pretty apt at finding the enemy airfields and doing giving them as many casualties as possible, but you do take excessive losses yourself. So in a way, what I've done is I've set things up in such a way that we will always have support as well. So generally what I've done is I've redesignated everything from scratch. And I made it so that at least overall we are always going to be having that air support. I'm also doing some recon, for example, in most of these places. Recon, I'll be doing that 3 days a week, low intensity, overall no support. I don't think it's really that needed for recon. And we're not getting out too far either way. Now, I should actually be putting that recon on day 2 and not on day 1. Because if I do that, let's just do it this way for now. So I'll be resetting that. Because on the first day I'll be bombing mostly. And to be honest, I'd rather have the planes come out, the recon planes come out after that bombing. So I'll be switching that over, but either way, yeah, so I'll make sure that I always have air support, or at least in 99% of the cases. I've also switched around my air groups a little bit, so that they're better positioned. That might not be super apparent in Army Group North, but you will see that in other groups as well. What I've done for the most part when it comes to, for example, the BF 109s, let's actually take a look at some of them. Yeah, here we go. What I've done is I've pretty much given all my fighters drop tanks so that they can support my bombers a lot better on the first turn. They will only get drop tanks for the first turn, and I'm gonna drop those drop tanks for the consecutive turns, but I definitely have them for the first one. What I've done, what's there? Okay, so I do need to switch up these BF-109s. Apparently I haven't done everything yet. What are you part of anyway? Coldest 4th Panzer Group. Let's see though. Why would you allow them to have such a big location? That's super weird. But I'm not moving Cold 4th Panzer Group this turn anyway, so I'll just leave them like that, and once we're going for new air bases, then I'll be shifting them over. There's no need to do it now. Anyway, let's go to 2nd Air Fleet. Under the 2nd Air Fleet, normally you have the Sturmgeschwader 1, 2, and 77. But I actually switched up the 2nd Sturmgeschwader and give them to a 5th Flieger Corps. Because currently only Army Group Center has any of the Junkers 87s, and I kind of wanted to switch that over. There are also a couple of Bf 109s that are in that are actually designated as bombers, which I will switch up eventually, but I'll be talking about that later. What I've done, with the exception of SKG 210, and they have Bf 110s, they are generally trained as bombers, but I actually want them as fighters. So because I needed additional escorts, in this case for KG-54, I sent SKG-210 actually from Army Group Center, transported them south and allowed them to act as a escort for KG-54. What I did with the other BF-110Es, I actually put them back to Germany for training, and I don't know if you can already see that in the reserve. No. Let's actually go here. So what you'll see now for the air group reinforcement and transfers, you'll see I have a whole lot of these going from the map to the Axis reserves, and let's actually see, because these are currently no, they're actually entirely out of the map. AOG, that's not it, huh? So I cannot actually oh, it's maybe in the second page. No. What if I were to only select the fighter bombers? Fighters doesn't show. I thought I would be able to see the units in training, or that I sent away for training. Let's take a look at the commander's report screen. So let's go to air, and I don't want the tactical bombers, but I want fighter bombers. And yeah, it's so it's SG 1 and 2. Anyway, I want to send those guys over to train. I actually did send a few of them, so they should be back at some point, but I cannot find them now. I wish there was a way to see which units are in training. But apparently that is impossible. So that's kind of weird. Huh. Well, never mind that. But I want to eventually get all of them back as fighters, because I want more fighters and less bombers, basically. So let's just forget about that. That's a bit weird. Actually, yeah. Alright. Anyway, so that's that. I do have the STGs as ground support air directives, but I'm gonna send. I did send one down for ground support in this area. Yeah, it's just so weird. Let me. SKG is what I'm looking for. There's a different SKG from 210, but Okay, never mind. The one thing that I do want to do is I want to set the replacement settings for all of them. Yeah, or not the replacement. I want the upgrade to auto upgrades. I'm really not gonna do that manually. I'm sorry. There are a lot of things that I'm willing to do manually, but not the upgrades. I'm sorry. Anyway, then for the 4th Air Fleet, I sent all of the Slovakian air units into the reserve, most of the Hungarian units into the reserve, except for the Hungarian bomber regiment, which I'm going to send away on the next turn too, but I actually want them to bomb these airfields. They're actually supposed to be here, but I transferred them over here. I removed most of the Romanian air units, except for a few. So I also send those to the reserve for training. I really don't think that they'll be useful. I will show you why, at least for the moment. There are a few Romanian bomber flotillas that I kept because I'm using those for ground attacks. As you can see here, 1st Romanian bomber and fighter flotilla are going up here. Besides that, I've sent most of them away, or I will send more of them away, except for some Romanian recon. But that's about it. So I kept those recon groups. I'll probably send one away still. That is very likely. They don't need to do recon for now anyway, since they're not active yet. Besides, even though these guys are on Air Fleet 4, I don't need to do recon here on turn 1. Jagerstrader 52 was originally in Bucharest. I sent them further up to provide air support around that area, which is a lot better designation for them than to sit down there. I also put them under the actual what is it now? It's not the 4th Air Fleet. Yeah, I put them under the 4th Flieger Corps. There we are. Just like all these other units are also under the 4th Flieger Corps. And the Romanian Combat Air Command is also under Luftflotte 4. So I wager all these other ones are under the Romanian Combat Air Command. As you can see here, they have these bombing flotillas, etc., etc. Whereas the 4th Flieger Corps has these over here: Cage 27, Jagerstrader 77, Jagerstrader 52. So pretty much the German units. I believe Koluft 11 is just under Luftflotte 4. Yeah, that's all fine. I also kept the Hungarian transport group, and that's actually, well, let's actually send those guys away too. I actually don't need that. If I can, at least, yeah. Let's send those to the reserve, that's fine. Alright, so I only have those Hungarian bombers, but I'll be sending them away on the next turn. Also the case for most of those Romanian groups. Why is that? Well, if we go here and take a look at those air groups that I'm gonna send over, and if you take a look at, for example, this Hungarian fighter group, you know, they have these CR-42 planes that are, they're just gonna get shot down very early, and they're just not that big of a contribution to the ultimate war effort. The same applies for the Slovenian fighters. Like, these are just old biplanes that are not particularly useful in the grand scheme of things. Maybe these Hurricane 1s, but even then, I really don't see it. So they'll just be either getting wrecked, taking up fuel or anything else that's not particularly useful. They take up supplies and etc, etc. So I'm just keeping those in reserve for now. If they are ever going to be necessary, maybe they'll be upgraded at some point. They'll just be doing training in the reserve for the moment. Maybe I'll be sending them over to the Balkans or any other such theater. We'll see about that, but I'll just get them in reserve first. So that's that. Most of those are there. It really applies to all the Axis allies, and that's it. So yeah, for example, because we do need more airplanes in the Balkans, for example, and I think that at that point, you know, sending some Romanian planes over there is going to be totally fine. I think we can work that out. Yeah, so with that said, I'll start that first air engagement. I do think I wanted to say everything about this this first air war, and of course I shouldn't forget to set those other recon dates to day 2 and 5. Yeah, okay. So those are taken care of. All right. You still have quite a few operational losses besides the air combat. Even though for most of these units I do actually have cover. If not all of them. But I'm still quite luck dependent besides. I mean, 53 losses in air combat. It's not that crazy. Anyway, you'll see that the Soviet losses are relatively comparable to what they were in my first LP, but the losses are substantially less. We're actually still taking quite a few losses from the recon, but I'm taking about 1/3 of the losses that I took on the first try. Well, maybe a little bit more, maybe about 2/5. So I do think it's definitely worth it eventually to do this and set yourself up. Now maybe I'm doing a little bit too much recon, but not necessarily so, I think. Yeah. So taking a look now, not at the commander's report screen, but if we take a look at the losses in terms of air, we'll now see that the Soviets have lost, at least so far, 2,425, and we've lost 133. A lot of them are operational losses. Actually, the most of them are operational losses, with some flak losses and some losses in the air still. If we're going to go and look at these battles, you'll see that I basically set it so that every time at least we'll have 10 escorts for each mission, so that whenever the Soviets do show up, there's always at least some number that can divert them away from the bombers. That is never 100% foolproof, and you'll see, yeah, like, this is just tough luck. You know, sometimes they come with a lot of planes out of nowhere. Yeah, my 10 fighters are not going to stop them. They shut some of them down, but it seems like they made it through the formation, and we're still able to take down 14 of those planes. There's actually one air operation which is over here that I actually had it go through the Pripyat marshes in the hopes that they would not have any planes to go there, but they did. So that's also sucky in that sense, which you see here, still losing 10 planes in cases such as that, but it's still a lot better than what it used to under their normal circumstances. So it's still a big improvement, I feel like, compared to how things were if you allow the AI to do it. So even though I'm definitely no such expert, like I've heard of people who are still able to like destroy 3,000 planes or something. I'm not able to do that, but at least I can get results better than the AI. Not that that's anything to write home about, but it still helps. I mean, it currently it saved me about 180 planes on the first turn, and come on, that's actually quite a lot. For the Germans who don't have that much either way, like they have 2,300 on the battlefield, saving 150 planes is that's still close to like 8% of all German planes. That's a huge number over the long haul. Anyway, so we do see that we also have quite a few Romanian and Hungarian losses still either way, but most of my losses are the Heinzel 126, Heinzel 111, and Junkers 88s for the most part. So that sucks, but yeah, Soviets lost 510 I-153s, a lot of I-16s as well, and a lot of MiGs. Then they lost mostly SB2s in terms of bombers. So anyway, that's where we're at pre battle. Now I do want to turn on the roads as well. And that brings me to the second aspect. Now I'll be focusing a lot more on getting the right commanders in the right place. If we take a look, for example, over here, we'll find that, let's just see, this infantry division is already under the 18th Army, so that already does not make any sense. But this Albert Wodrich, he's decent on infantry, so at least I want to keep him. But I do think that it's going to be worth to try and replace units with level infantry rating less than 6. Try to get them away as fast as possible. Dismissal costs in this case, for example, are 10. So I'm very likely to be able to do one per turn. Now I don't really think it's the case for you guys, that it's really worth to remove, but there is, for example, no, it's not von Obstfelder, no, not Wietersheim either. Who is it? Werner Kempf is definitely not the weakest link. You also have 6. Basically, I'll be looking and replacing the weakest one. I'm currently just going to take a look. Will I remove any of this stuff while I'm reorganizing? No. These will be pretty long hauls where I'll also be, discussing every little thing about the game. Yeah, that does take long generally, but well, it's part of it. So we'll just keep going. And currently, I do want to remove those. Friedrich Koch, he has 6. That's fine. Let's take a look at Kinetz. This guy, for example, should be removed. Who can we put in place, for example? His dismissal cost is pretty low, so I can already start with that right away. So besides that, he also has morale 4 and initiative 5. It's just no good. Let's take a look. I don't necessarily need to go for the very best, but Von Arnim is pretty reasonable, so we should probably already... He has a 7-7. I'm actually looking for somebody who is not that great necessarily at mechanized, but is pretty decent on infantry, morale, and initiative. Like, for example, Kurt von der Chevalerie, who's good on the infantry but pretty bad on the mechanized. That's fine because he will never deal with that. So let's do that. He's a pretty good guy. He's high morale and high initiative, so he's gonna actually make a lot more of those checks. I'll be quite pleased to have him there, for example. And this is definitely something that over time I'll be doing. Now, for the moment, because we're at 11 AP, I do have to be quite careful. Well, I will definitely want to put a depot at Riga. So that is already something that I want to consider. And potentially, well, I don't think so at Lipaia, because we will not have that railroad. But as we follow along, how are we currently on depots at the front? It's looking pretty good, to the point where I feel that it's probably good enough to leave them like that for the moment. We have a bunch of them on the airfields, and that is okay. You there, you there. There are a lot of them here, but I think for the first turn we can actually leave it. And because I'll leave it, I can probably switch over at least one more corps commander. I think that switching up the corps commanders is the more important job. And then afterwards we'll work our way up. Ultimately, removing, not von Lieb necessarily, removing Halder is going to be something that I will be doing. Because even though his mechanized and infantry checks don't really matter that much, what does matter is his morale, his initiative and administration, and there are better ones. Let me just keep it at that. But because he is so high up the chain, he matters the least, whereas corps commanders are super important to replace. Schopenhauer cannot be bad. Yeah, exactly. Usually you can give yourself quite good predictions about who are good and who aren't. This guy is probably going to be reasonable. Generally, if the general is well known, he is likely going to be pretty good. And depending on how less known they are often less good. Let's see, because yeah, he's fine. Let's see, Richard Ruoff. Alright, let's quickly go over all the adjustments that I made to the units in relation to the support units, etc. Before we actually start. So, what I've done is I've switched out all the level... the commanders with an infantry rating of level 5, basically, and I've removed those either by putting them on the HQ or getting that corps out entirely, you know, like Albrecht Schubert, just stripping them of their units and distributing them amongst generals which do have a good rating, or at least a rating of 6. Or just replacing them. For example, the 12th Corps also had a 5 infantry rating unit, but I switched him, for example, up for Walter Weiss with very, very good stats, which is what I'll need at Brest-Litovsk anyway. So there's that. I did that pretty much for all units, or all core level units. Secondly, I started redistributing the other support units. So my goal is to get all of the core type units for the moment for construction battalions, potentially 1 or 2 pioneer battalions, at least 4 anti-aircraft companies and or battalions, potentially anti-tank, but they don't really need that. I'll keep it on the core level for regular infantry corps if it's towed, so 50 millimeters. Those are fine. If they are Panzerjäger 1s, I will give them to a motorized corps. And on average, I kind of want to have 4 artillery as well, but that doesn't mean that all of them make it. For example, up here for the first turn, some of them have only 3. But overall, I'm looking to give them 4 artillery, 4 anti-aircraft, sometimes a self-propelled artillery, but never more than 1, never more than 2 engineers, 4 construction units, and potentially a mortar unit. And I'm kind of just looking to redistribute all of the support units amongst my core level units. Besides that, amongst the army level, I'm looking as to how many construction units I can spare. I will have none at the army group level, but if I go to the OKH, yeah, I'm still redistributing, so that will take 1 to 2 turns. That's why you'll see that I still have quite a few new artillery battalions in there, because some of these corps were exceptionally overdoing it, and some of them had absolutely nothing. So while I'm currently switching these up, I need excess units in a particular corps and or army level have been sent up to the OKH for this turn to make sure that I can redistribute them wherever I see fit on the next one. So those are there. And of course we also still have a couple of construction battalions that still need to be redistributed around, but that is pretty much the best in that regard that I can do. I've done the same in terms of looking which army groups are the best. For example, in the north, the best general is Kuchler amongst the 18th and 16th Army, and then 4th Panzer Group is also very, very good in terms of statistics. So most of the units will be applied to that. 9th Army is Rudolf Hess, or Adolf Strauss. Wow, not Rudolf Hess. What am I saying? Adolf Strauss is marginal, but if we look at his stats, it's 56736. And for 3rd Panzer Group, it's, you know, if we applied 53736, I already forgot those numbers. This is crazy. 53736, right? 56736, okay. Yeah, so 56736. So you cannot catch up in any of the stats except admin. So there is no reason why I shouldn't put all of 9th Army units under 3rd Panzer Group at the moment. And obviously I might redistribute that again later, but for the moment there's no reason to not have it that way. And I'll just keep them in the rear. So I also strip 9th Army of as much as possible. I still have these few. They'll be redistributed as well. All those units are now under that particular command, and I do want to make sure that none of them are overburdened at any given time, which currently they are not. This pretty much applies to all the different armies. The 17th Army was already overburdened, so that what I did is I switched 4th Corps for 6th Army And then there were a bunch of units here which are now under the 29th Corps because I wanted to remove, it was either this one or this one, but both of them are pretty bad with a, well, these guys at least have a 6 infantry rating, but they were superfluous, but I'm quite sure it was the 55th Corps. Which also isn't as good as these other guys. So he has 55636, and he has 77636. So he has better morale and initiative. So I'd rather have them under Von Opstelter at that point. Anyway, there's a little bit of a switch up, and I also switched this general for Von der Chevalerie, also because he has pretty good infantry stat, or at least decent. Reasonable morale and initiative as well. This has, however, left me with 0 AP for this turn, but I think on this turn it doesn't really matter that much since I'm not really looking to build more depots. The only thing that I might need it for would be priority repairs on Riga, but yeah, we might be able to do without priority repairs on Riga for one at a time. Might still give that on the second turn though, but we'll see. Either way, so those are the changes that I made to the units, and that means that we can get started. Now there's one last thing that I do think is worth mentioning, and that's there are still quite a few Soviet planes that have not been destroyed on the ground after the first turn, and those will still be active. I still expect to snare a significant portion of Soviet air forces through these means. That's just what I'm saying right now. But anyway, we should get started, and these guys are at the very rear, so I do generally want to use those guys first. And for example, you can see here already that we have a bunch of planes. Let's actually take a look whether we can also see these air forces. Yeah, let's show those details. So in terms of air combat, we see that we still have a bunch of Bf-109s that were still active. They didn't use up all of their fuel, movement, etc. during the turn, and these guys didn't do that either. So the Soviets, they're basically just trying to provide support, and they're just running headlong into my planes. They're getting slaughtered out there. That's also pretty much what's generally happening on the first turn. So I do expect those Soviet losses to become a lot higher. They keep going at it though, although I do think that those even might be operational losses. For example, if we take a look here in terms of, it doesn't, yeah, see, because this is air-to-air, flak, operational, and on the ground. So we lost those two Bf-109s due to operational losses. For example, now you could technically still move 1 hex, but that's not too useful. Yeah, let's see. I want to be careful. This is the border guard detachment. They probably have nothing else. No, indeed. So, the thing is that, at least in the Baltics, by doing soft attacks, you don't accumulate combat delay. And that, I believe that only works for the Baltic. So in this case I really want to do soft attacks, although not necessarily on that rifle division there. Well, this is still light woods, so it might not be that bad. What do they have there? Rifle division or unit? Alright, let's move you up. Now they did actually give them combat delay in there. Unfortunate. They are part of this corps. Doesn't matter into which of these two hexes I'll go. But let's attack. So in this case you have major river from not from the east, so you're best off attacking here. Here. And I don't want to attack across the river, so I will do that with the 290th after they have crossed. Although actually I'd rather move this way with them. To be completely honest. And I do want to start working on the rail line further up. But I'll have to see what it entails. One of the, well, let's just say problems. Yeah, they still want to move up through here and then around. I mean, that's not necessarily so much a problem, but yeah. They're routing in here, so what I'll do is I'll make sure that we'll get an encirclement of these guys and that they will not get away. But let's start with you here. To go through this way, and I want to see, yeah, this should be fine. So you can move up in here. push these out. And there are multiple things that I can do. One of them is actually moving forward. Which is pretty interesting. Let's start with you. On this side. Crossing is always a bit difficult. Part of the motorized, the different motorized course. Yeah, they would be fine actually moving up in here. And then both of them should be under command. Northwest, east, northeast. Maybe I was overdoing it a little bit. Let's actually already cross the Niemen here. That will ultimately benefit its movement. Yeah. So same here. I do want to try and utilize the rails or the road movement as much as possible as well. So for them on a regular road, it will cost 1. So 24, 23, 22, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, maybe like 10 or so. Well, let's just see how far I can get with you. Like that, because that is pretty far actually. Now, ultimately, if I want to go around this, Burgmeijer. Goedemorgen. Ja, ik had u aan de lijn. Oké. Dus je zegt tijdsindicatie van zeg 3-4 dagen of zo nog. Ja. Oké. Nee, dat is goed. Oké, nee, dan wachten we er even mee en dan kijken we even hoe het gaat. Ja. Oké, is goed. En bedankt, fijne dag nog. Hoi. At the very least, I want to have one unit go in between so that these two are cut off from each other, just in case they're yeah, they would have a harder time reconnecting with their own lines as it is at that point. That's rather the purpose. Going down here into this area with, at least with this army, is not very useful. So at that point I'm just looking to grab the territory here, although I do want you to at least also snag this to get as many hexes as possible, because there's no automatic conversion, of course. Going through these swamps just does not really seem to me like a very beneficial thing to do. So let's get you to take Jelgava, so that the panzers won't be bothered by it. Now, the most powerful of the panzers that I have is 6th Panzer over in here with a combat value of 50. Let's assign it at least a Pioneer Battalion. And I actually want to get to this side, so well, let's actually see whether 28, 26, 25, 24, 23, something like that. Yeah, let's move this motorized unit here first. There we go. $13, $11. So for them it's actually a movement of 2. 9, 7, if they can even attack these. 11, 9, 5. They'll never be able to get up there. That's one thing, at least, that you can always already take home. Now, if I move up with them, I can do a cutting off maneuver. 9, huh? Because I definitely want to get into Daugavpilsk too. Right, well, let's just start. Here. And attack Riga. Okay. And because they're in that pretty precarious position, let's take a look at the port. The port is not actually that damaged. I do want to set this to priority 4, so the highest priority depot, and they are an importing port. So that at least works. Now, Riga Airbase. We obviously don't have any units there now, and it's probably better to wait on it for a bit as well. Now, it seems... $13.12... There's 13.98... I do need to get this encirclement going, but you actually have more movement than these guys, interestingly enough, even at that hex. How about moving through? Thing is that I actually think that crossing there might be a pretty reasonable idea. Alright, let's have you follow the road for now. And moving back is fairly useless, but I think that I need this river crossing. It will be a lot easier to use that river crossing. So I'll move them over here to get closer to that particular hex. $23.20. So let's use Totenkopf here. Cross the river. Attack this other unit at Daugavpilsk. Bye. And let's start getting into that hex. Now, I could technically even move up. Let's just see what the 1st Panzer Division can do. They will get up to 9 in that hex. Let's actually see whether these guys can make the Jägerpils crossing, which they very likely can. I'm gonna move through this direction because I actually want to convert more of these hexes. Cross here. And I might be able to get into Madana. No, that would cost 4. Well, let's go in here and then in here to at least... no. I actually don't want to go into this hex. I think it will probably cost less to cross at this side. So I don't actually see that working there. What I do see working, however... Sure what they had there. The last part of that airborne brigade. Okay, fine. This would give me those 2 hexes. Not necessarily looking to get those. But... Just keep you on the city. I mean, what are they gonna do? Move a unit back in there? I don't actually think so. Interesting that the motorized corps cannot actually get in there. Even at this point, I'm still looking to take as many hexes even there as possible. Now, I could pretty much do the same here. Try to get up to Ventspils. I had, like I said, 1st Panzer. Let's do it this way for now and get that core to be in that in here. I'll put them on supply 4. If these guys dealing with that. And you going up through this way. Now, 1st Panzer Division. I actually think that this is still probably the fastest way, and indeed it is. I'm looking at getting into that hex, so doesn't matter that I have this 1 hex here left. Huh. Alright, not bad. If I could get it into Riga, I would, but seems like I'm just shy 2. Maybe if I hadn't moved it in there, I would have been fine. Maybe. However, gotta be completely honest, I'd rather attack from this side. Let's make sure they get routed. Okay. I want these forward units to be able to move the most, so they they will get that ability. To be completely fair, I'd actually want to do a double attack here. I think they are more powerful. Indeed they were, 67. That's a bit higher indeed. Oh, that second one, they still had a pretty reasonable number. Can't attack for one across the river. Let's not take any chances. Oh. Huh. Okay, that's pretty rough indeed. What is this? This is... Okay. Huh. Well, I certainly did not expect that. You literally... The only one that can attack. Oh, okay. Rather sucks that I have this one combat delay there now, but... nothing to be done about it. If I want to move up, let's move the 5th Corps 1 back. Remove you, remove you. And seems like they cannot cross the river. Fine. Okay, well I have a mechanized unit to deal with here, so I'll grab both of these and attack. Very good. The okay, let's keep it open like this for now. With these guys, I can still move a lot with units such as this. Field this is empty. Okay. Don't hear me complaining about that. And go in here. What does that also mean? Well, at the very least, I know it rather sucks, but I want to have one motorized division. Go through here. I want to encircle those guys, so... Then that is what I need to do, or where I need to go to. I might actually get a unit in Polotsk. I will not be able to achieve that with the 14th motorized, but maybe with some other unit. Hmm. 97531, and then they can do a soft attack. Which would save whatever unit that's trying to get into Polotsk at least one movement or something like that. That's fine though. One thing at that point which I'm not too happy about is the amount of spaces in between here. Because then they can cut me off through that way, but then they would also have to cut me off through that way. Well, ultimately that would be quite unlikely. So let's just try to move up as much as possible. Now I do have a real conversion here. If we take a look at the rail line in itself, there is a double rail moving from here and then it goes up. So I think that that's also where you want to start that rail conversion. Although, since I'm making a pit stop anyway, I might just as well spend one to repair that. The very strange thing is, though, let's take a look at the rail, because it might just be that that rail is fixed. Yeah, it is. Okay. Now what they actually need to do is actually move towards Kaunas. And these guys will use this rail line to work their way up towards Riga for the moment. Okay. An interesting question with these guys generally is, do you want to attack? And personally, I would say I would be inclined to say no. Except on the machine gun battalions generally. And I guess this border guard detachment. But I do think you want to try and get a better position already. Just also so you can deal with this stuff a little bit easier. Like I can send all of these guys up to Vilnius and then be like, okay, well, that's pretty good advancement already, but I already have units here and this will get converted. Now, what I want to do though is also move you in here. Reason why this is important is I want to put under my control as many hexes as possible as well, and the best way to do it is this, so just move straight up like that. There are a few things I would want to do in Minsk, but heavy air losses for the AI again. Oh. I was actually quite lucky to have dealt with them still. 48 to 14. Well, they were in a defensive position after all. Does give me that one there. Which ultimately means it's actually not too useful to go into that hex, I think. There should be routing now. No, still a retreat. Ooh. Okay. Brest has a minor river. East, southeast, southwest. So all of these. If I get unit into this hex, that would be a much better position. Again, I'm not... Yeah, I'm just generally looking to hold the line here. That's... With a minimum of 2 hexes in between, I think we'll be fine, and then we're also setting ourselves up reasonably well for any eventualities. Clear them, and push them around. That might seem a bit weird, but Get you out of there. Unfortunately, that puts them at 1. However, this might be a bit overkill ultimately. But I really don't know. Generally in games I try to put a very heavy attack on Bressatosk, so that I have good movement afterwards. And in this case, the unit with the least movement, you, will go back in here to hold the line. Again, I'll do some conversion, since these guys can't move a whole lot anyway. Tank division, eh? I have to say I'm a bit more reluctant to attack a mechanized with just 1 unit. Rather use a double soft attack in such a case. And since this is the rail, I will move in here. Let's see how far you can go for now. Here? Sure. I'll make sure to, or I'll try to also put a unit on there at least. Or just to do this. At that point it's also very unlikely to be able to get into that hex, so this way these guys can move forward quite a bit more, in fact. Okay, well, one thing I certainly want to do here, and this kind of sucks, but I needed them to rout, and that's what they just did. Excellent, okay. I'll move in the cav. And the cavalry will go up in here to Koval. And I'll see whether I'll actually take it. These guys can't really go a whole lot further, so I don't really see... any particular... I mean, they can go in here. I'll see whether it will be necessary. Better follow the road here as well towards... I guess they can get up through here. It's not that bad. There's a road to Pinsk, and they can always move up a little bit further. This is just generally a pretty bad road to begin with. Anyway, you would come out at 23, 25, 26, 27. So you really are the worst for it. Let's start with Das Reich. Try to keep following the road here. Well, it seems like in certain situations it's not the most important. Now, since Das Reich is the one at the back, basically, I could use them to take Baranovici. Or I could... Yeah, let's take Baranovici, actually. That might seem a little bit weird, but it is pretty much the rear unit. Or it's a pretty important city as a rail hub. So I want to keep it to ensure that I can also start working on that rail up towards Minsk as fast as possible. From both sides, that is. Although on this side I already do own it. Next up, this Panzer division would have less, but generally I like to attack with the motorized divisions most. Interesting that they choose to go around. I could take Pinsk already, and I actually think that's probably for the best. That seems a bit weird. But I believe that any counterattack that they might get from this side would come from that direction. So I'm inclined to also at least make sure that from this side they can't really do anything anymore. That does mean that these guys cannot move that far. But I'm okay with that. Now 10th motorized is gonna move up. Will they be able to get in there? Well, they can. It's like 5-3. They can get up till here. And then 0. The road system over in this lower area is very poor, so basically I need to move up that way pretty much regardless. Like going in here, what does it achieve? Well, pretty much nothing. You're just getting yourself stuck there. Let's take a look though, because as I said, I kind of want to start generally by using the motorized. But these only have one motorized unit left. To deal with some of that stuff. The real question, I think, is at this point, do I want to encircle Minsk? Can I even encircle Minsk? It's a pretty good question. If I take the foremost panzer, you, This would put them to 6. This is empty, so I would take that. 6. I probably will not be able to cross. Also, given that this is a swamp hex. This would put him to 7. It's interesting to say the least. How far would my foremost Panzer division be able to go? So for these guys, going in here, this is 5, 3, 1. You don't want to go through there. Basically, they would have to move through this section. And then get around it. Yeah, that has me lose quite a few tanks. I know. But like I said, if I... If I want to encircle those units, I pretty much have to do this too. They might still get out, sure. But... let's see. So as I said... this is also not nice. Again, I get that. Very interesting that... do I want to move into Borisov? To be honest, I actually think I don't. For the moment. I will actually move in here. I actually do think that is quite a good crossing. I do not complain about capturing that. Huh. I do, however, want to actually capture Minsk on the first turn. So that will, however, require a little bit of work. And some losses, I'm afraid. But I don't think those can be helped, unfortunately, at the moment. Okay, I lost one here. Fine. Let's get you into Minsk itself. And one thing that I can appreciate is now taking this hex. We know there's a unit there. That doesn't help me. But you know what? Let's actually take Barbarossa. I think we're good. Alright, so like I said, I don't expect them to go in from that side. So what I want these guys to then do is to... I actually don't want to go in there with you. If there's one thing that I think is important to do is as well capture their airfields. Since the AI will use those airfields to get supply back to those units and reinforce them. So making sure that they cannot do that, I think, is one of the critical elements. I'm actually quite inclined to just park him here or up here. Yeah. Let's go. This also gives me quite a broad territorial range. So, can you cross the river? No. That's fine though. The thing... Yeah, let's actually put you in here so they also cannot escape through that fashion. Now... start disrupting them a little bit more. The last panzer here, I could use it to split it in two. Since I don't think I can do that with you guys. Maybe. No. Well, that's a shame. Even you cannot do it because of the heavy terrain. Well, okay. Well. Yeah, let's actually move you here. Take a few more hexes then. Fine. I'll move the respective HQs later. Let's go for Army Group South. This is probably a pretty rough hex to deal with. If we look at fortification levels, they have fort level 2. I'm not super worried about an anti-tank brigade, but it's still, wow, 13 losses, huh? That's still pretty rough, either way. We'll push these guys back too, at the very least. Do think that's quite important. Doesn't matter that they will get that. I want to move through here. That's pretty much the important thing. No movement. That's really weird though. Seems like Light Division has more trouble moving than anything else. Now, what I want actually is for you to move in here. To attack these, and there's also a reason for that. Yeah, that's actually the best. I want to start working on that rail line from down here already. And I'm not gonna be able to do that if I don't at least already clear them from the road for now. Oh, wow. It's gonna hurt. Ooh. Okay, that did not go entirely according to plan. Not gonna lie. Okay, so now route them. They can still do another attack there. Yeah, I need to start clearing units out on this side too. attack. Do a heavy attack apparently, otherwise you're not gonna make it. And here. And there. Oof, I got I got interrupted there for a sec. Yeah, let's continue here. And wow. Let's do a second attack then. Let's go up in here. And get rid of these guys. Get rid of you. Okay, so that doesn't help in terms of getting them to be encircled. Let's do this and then move into Koval. Sweet. Okay, from there they might still try to break out, but I cannot put a unit on that hex. Nothing fits, no. What I will do is take Lvov. That's one. Wow, what? Okay. Let's approach this a little bit differently then. Let's get rid of all these. And I would still need to defeat them. Sheesh. Okay, there we are. I don't really care about that. I just need to be able to push through there. Let's get demotorized. And push them even further. Oh! Now I have to move back. That really sucks. Just like that really sucks. How many losses? 29. Oh. Well, that's what you get when they get that in reserve. There's not a lot I can do against that. Let's get them out of there. You cannot actually move any further. Six, four, I cannot move into that city. I could with them. But I do think that's actually something that I want. Yeah. Another good thing is that they might not be able to rail most of these units out now through this one rail line here. What I do want to do, however, is break you up. One part in Lvov. One part in here, and you in here. And then we'll see how the AI responds to that. Yeah, and let's split you up. I don't want them to be able to take the airfields. Just like that. So I will protect those. And over here, let's do that and take this city. These guys are real serious work. Even now. Well, that sucks, but We'll have to deal with it in the future. Okay. I think though that I've taken care of most of the stuff. What I'll do now is work with the HQs. And wherever I can. I need to take a look at the supply depots though. So I believe one corps is in general enough, or one army is enough. So add that. I'll do this. I also want to stay as close to actual working rail lines as possible for the most part. One, two, three, four, five. One, two, three, four, five. Let's keep you in there. I have to take into account here that they might, for example, be able to take those airfields if they move through, and that would cause some serious issues. So I do actually need to put those units on there. But I actually think that in terms of this depot, I can remove it. Seriously? That's... because the game is... there we are. I cannot select it if there's a unit on there. That's ridiculous. Disband the depot. Ah, there we are. So I just have to click right next to the unit. You're okay in terms of depots. This should be an exporting port. Not an exporting one. Those are fine there. You can stay there as a depot. Alright, let's take care of the HQs. You... there, you on here. Motorized core. If you cannot reach those, better leave it alone. Another motorized core. You can reach them, so you'll go in there. 4th Army is well located. There we go. That's looking a lot better. You guys here. This core up here. So they're all set. You in here. Up here. You can go back. Okay. Next, I think I can already ship it back to the Soviets. Almost. So sure, there we are. Okay. Let's see what they got in store. Will be interesting to see whether they'll break out. I actually am quite uncomfortable with this pocket, if you ask me. Might take another turn. They might break out here or something similar. We'll have to see. Especially those motorized units can still move quite a bit, and air planning, huh? Air planning must also be a bit rough for them currently. Not that bad, apparently. So they're still trying to do a lot of losses here. And then recon. I'm actually I would be interested to see what they were trying to do at those losses there. Seems like they're not doing a whole lot more except for a bit of recon. Mostly operational losses either way. And then we have 2 losses, which is not too crazy. It'd be interesting to see whether they would already do attrition attacks. But I don't think so. Especially during that first turn, I would probably rather mostly see them indeed trying to escape. Try to form new defensive lines. Pretty much what we've seen the first time as well. So that's kind of what I would be expecting here. Now, the additional capture of the units near Minsk, or potential surrender of the units near Minsk, should, at the very least, also give me a few more more surrenders, which I would be quite pleased about either way. One of the most important things, I guess, here in the center is now getting my infantry up to the Dnieper. We've seen that in the first game as well, is that with lagging infantry at that point, it's going to take quite a while. You'll get them there maybe on turn 3 or 4. Especially this quagmire around Bobrusk is a bit of a disaster in that regard. I get that this will probably take up most of the time, this garrisoning urban areas, as they do things like try to escape, stuff like that. Damn it, I forgot to air transport myself. Shouldn't forget that. Don't like this indeed, seeing that. But I can't move up yet. I mean, not using that air transport might not be the actual worst. So let's take a look. So it did actually hold, luckily. Same here. They might have evacuated there or something similar. This held, so that's good. And they did actually. You see, the thing with Lvov is that supposedly, if you get like a unit below a certain hex, they don't activate or something, but it's kind of weird the way that works. Either way, they had a shortage in the Transcaucasus last turn. Then we have Executive Order 8802. Under threat of a forced march on Washington, D.C. on June 25th, 1941, President Roosevelt signs Executive Order 8802. It prohibited discrimination against blacks and women in the hiring practices of the U.S. defense jobs. Although not a law, it was the first federal gesture toward civil rights since the Reconstruction after the American Civil War in 1860. Wolf's Lair. It's June 23rd, 1941, and Adolf Hitler first arrives on his Eastern Front headquarters for Operation Barbarossa. Wolf's Lair is located in the Masurian woods near the small East Prussian town of Rastenburg. Hitler will spend more than 800 days at the Wolfschanze. Wolfschanze is derived from Wolf, a self-adopted nickname of Hitler. He began using the name in the early 1930s, and was often how he was addressed by those in his intimate circle. Although the standard translation of Wolfschanze in English is Wolf's Lair, a Schanze in German denotes a redoubt or temporary field work. Garrison shortage in the Western Europe, for us as well apparently. And then the Continuation War. So we've gone over those. Either way, I'm gonna wrap things up. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. That was the first turn for now. Second turn will probably be almost as long, if not longer. So we'll see. But we made decent progress, so I'm happy about that. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye.